Well, I guess I feel a little better. I hope you can too. I've used this location for monologues in the past a couple times, and it's because for some reason this old beat up Samsung phone of mine likes this light at 10 o'clock in the morning in this deserted restaurant. I don't know why, but it has started to, well, it's really always done it. In low light situations, it flashes, it strobes different colors. And, people are telling me to buy an iPhone if I want to be a vlogger. Well, I'm not sure yet that I want to be a vlogger. 18 weeks into it, 19 weeks into it. But certainly I haven't made a dime off it, and I don't expect to ever make a dime off this YouTube channel. So the idea in my retirement, with my fixed income, going out and buying a new iPhone just to do this, it seems counterintuitive. So I returned to this spot where this camera seems to do okay. I got an argument this week with a guy online. Yeah, I know. Surprise, surprise. I argued with some stranger over a meaningless point of grammar this week online. Who knew? Who could figure that? Anyway, he put a hyphen in the word expat. And I've had this conversation online 1,000 times, no exaggeration. It is, you're abbreviating the word expatriate. There's no hyphen in expatriate. So why, if you're shortening a word, why would you add something to it? So it's just expat without a hyphen, or expatriate. There's nothing wrong with spelling it out. And, I get triggered by this spelling error because I have a history with it. And I'll briefly share that history with you. In 2003, I was going through the world's messiest, most painful, most acrimonious divorce. And in the middle of it, the Johns County Family Court decided it was a good time to send a social worker on a surprise visit to Steve's house. So the doorbell rings, I answer it. I probably, in those days, I was working from home and I was deep in social anxiety disorder. I probably hadn't bathed in 3 days. And I was living in my pajamas in those days. And I open the door and there's this guy in a suit standing there, a lawyer from the city. He hands me a business card, introduces himself, comes in my house, puts down his briefcase, takes out his camera, starts going through every closet, every drawer, every pantry, every cupboard in my house, photographing what he finds. He's writing down the foods that I keep in my refrigerator. He goes downstairs to the basement. He goes through the utility rooms. He writes down the appliances that are in the house and how old they are, the value of them. He goes in the room I'm renting out to a college student. He photographs everything and takes notes about everything in my house and about me. And he goes back to the office and he writes this report, about a 5-page report to the court, which says Steve Ross is weird as hell, but he doesn't appear to be a threat to anybody. And I was grateful for that. But in that report, he says, quote, the father describes himself as having been an ex-patriot, O-T, an ex-patriot, somebody who used to love his country but doesn't love his country now, is what that word means. That portmanteau, that made-up word. And when I saw that report, I flipped. My lawyer was billing about $190 an hour at that point, and I think I paid him for 3 or 4 hours to get on the phone and argue with clerks at the family court about a typo in a single document. And with no success, of course, like everything else that man didn't do for me. Got no joy out of that, just the bill. So I am triggered by that word. But also, it's made me remember at that time, the reason I was so upset was because I thought it was tremendously important that that social worker think well of me. Right? I thought he was the guy who was going to determine whether or not I could see my kids. That's all we were fighting about, shared custody. I wanted shared custody. She wouldn't have it. Because if she had sole custody, she'd get all the benefits from the state, all the financial benefits. And even though she was taking a third of my paycheck for the rest of my working life, well, for the next 13 years, that wasn't enough. So we were fighting about shared custody, and I thought this social worker's report would be what determined how much I got to see my kids going forward. And, you know, there are people in our lives who, starting with our parents, lovers, friends, employers, and ending with our children, whose opinions of us are terribly important, and we spend our lives trying to live up to what we think those people expect of us. And then we retire. We find ourselves living alone in the desert in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and the government says, hey, if you stop working now, we'll pay you money every month for the rest of your life. Hell yeah, sign me up. And 5 months ago, I came to Turtle Beach with the expectation that I would never again have to moderate my behavior to please anybody else. It no longer mattered what anybody's opinion of me was, because nobody could hurt me, nobody could help me. Nobody can hurt me. I've got a steady income and a visa. What are they going to do to me? Nobody can help me because I'm not trying to do anything. I'm not establishing anything. I mean, other than this vlog. I'm not trying to begin anything. And it's at beginnings when you are vulnerable. It's at beginnings when you need cooperation, when you need networks. And I'm at the end of something, very clearly at the end of something. And so I thought I was bulletproof. I thought my reputation was absolutely watertight. Didn't matter what anybody thought of Steve Ross, except Steve Ross. So then this happens. The other night I'm at home, 9 o'clock at night. I'm in my pajamas. I have bathed. I have taken that last toke on the bong before bed. And just before I turn out the lights, there's a cock, cock, cock on the big metal shutters at the front of my apartment. This ain't New York City. I open the door. Shuk, 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 shuk. Open the metal shutters. There's 2 teenage boys standing out there. Little wispy things, right? Pencil wrists. Meek, hunched. Katot kap, katot kap, katot kap, lung kap. The gist of it was, everybody in the neighborhood knows Steve smokes pot, because I live with those metal shutters open in the daytime. Everything I do in the living room is open to the world. Everybody knows I smoke pot. I don't care. Like I said, doesn't matter. I'm bulletproof. It's legal now. They can't throw me in jail. I hope. Fingers crossed. But at any rate, there's these 2 boys out there, and they said, "Hey, Lung, we just bought some pot. You want to try it with us? We haven't smoked it yet. You want to try it with us?" I was high. I said yes. I invited these 2 teenagers into my living room at 9 o'clock at night. Me in my pajamas. And they're loading up the bong. They're sitting on my sofa loading up the bong, and it hits me like a ton of bricks. What the hell are you doing? You know, these shutters are 12 feet wide, 8 feet tall. A window on your life open to the world at 9 o'clock at night. And you're sitting there in your pajamas with 2 teenagers smoking weed. Talk your way out of that one, Steve. So I politely ushered them out and pointed out there's a security camera outside on the street, and they haven't shown up again. But in that moment, I realized this is a town of 10,000 people, and I need them. If I'm going to do this, if I'm going to do this YouTube channel for 52 episodes, which that is the goal, a year, 52 episodes, 1 a week. We're at 19 now, 20, 19. And if I'm going to do this, I spent the last 5 days at the Vegetarian Festival, the most profound 9 days in this town's year, and the last 3 years, and the last 124 years before that. They did that Veg Festival every single year until COVID. They didn't stop for the deaths of monarchs. They didn't stop for world wars. They didn't stop for economic crises, for coups in Bangkok. They didn't stop for anything for 124 years, and then COVID stopped them for 3 years. And this year, they get to do it again, finally. And here's this big fat Falang walking around in the middle of it with a camera, sticking a camera in their face, right? I need their cooperation. If I'm going to do this for 52 episodes successfully, or even approach success, or even have a vision of success, I have to have the cooperation of every one of my neighbors and friends. And that's a paradigm shift in my thinking about retirement. How many responsibilities can an old man let go of? I thought all of them. I thought I had this incredibly free sensation when I got here, and I've had it for 5 months, that I don't give a flying F what anybody thinks of what I'm doing. Now, there's a list with 10,000 names on it, and these people are suddenly, their opinions of Steve Ross suddenly matter. Wish me luck. My history of pleasing people, of meeting people's expectations of me, is awfully poor. So, wish me luck, all right? Light a stick of incense for me. All right, that's my time. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and please share. The algorithm loves it when you share. Share to your timeline. Share via email to a buddy who might be interested in South Thailand, or turtles, or Steve Ross. All right, thank you very much. I'll see you next week. Hello, sweetie. สีขาวด้วย ครับอะไรครับ
ขอตังค์20
ทำไมอ่ะไม่ใช่ลูกผมใช่ไหมไม่ใช่ลูกชายผมจะให้ตังค์ทำไมอ่ะไม่มีผมเป็นคนจนรู้ไหมผมเป็นคนจนไออะไร
ที่9ครับไอเหนียวอันนี้จะอยู่รุ่นของรุ่นคนเหนียวของรุ่นไอเหนียวไอทองใจเย็นๆครับใจเย็นๆใจเย็นๆนะครับใจเย็นอันนี้ผู้สูงอายุตัดเส้นผู้สูงอายุตัดเส้นไปเอาตอนนั้นขยายให้โรเชียหน่อยขยายทางหน่อยผู้ชายเดี๋ยวผู้หญิงไงโอ้ทำไมไม่ตัดตรงนั้นน่ะพอตัดตรงนั้นหน่อยตัดไม่ให้ผู้หญิงครับยินดีล้อมเย็นๆนะครับเย็นปิดก่อนเลยช่วงนั้นปิดก่อนเลยผู้ใหญ่โอ้ปิดก่อนเลยเอาขยายเข้าไปก่อนให้เด็กครับก่อนเลยนะครับส่วนปากทางตรงนี้นะครับระบายออกให้เร็วได้ยิ่งแรงศรัทธาของพวกเรายิ่งใหญ่ดังที่ผมได้บอกไปแล้วไงว่าสายน้ำหลั่งไหลมายังศาลเจ้าเล็งเกินเก่งของเรานะ เหลือเกินที่จะขนาดนั้นได้ขนาดเขื่อนที่เราตั้งไว้เพื่อให้เป็นระเบียบยังพังได้แต่น้ำใจของคนเองรู้ตัวไปอย่างว่าที่ดีก็ไม่ได้ยอมรับขอให้ได้ใจดีแย่แต่ดีแน่นะครับอยู่ที่ทุกคนนะครับเข้าใจขณะนี้เราทุกคนเนี่ยไม่ได้ยินนะครับไม่ได้ยินคำพูดด้วย
That's the end of the line. Well, it is a dreary, wet, rainy Thursday afternoon on Turtle Beach. Can't go anywhere, can't do anything. Might as well unbox another cheap Chinese toy. What have we got today? Well, that's obviously Superman, right? Sure, good old Superman. He's a 100-year-old property. Wait a minute, Superman was never in the Avengers? These are the Avengers. That's Hulk. That's the Captain America from Winter Soldier, which was 2014. Makes this an 8-year-old toy. It's in great shape for 8 years old. Most collectors would keep him mint in package. I'm not going to because I like to play with them. But at any rate, the mystery of how Superman got involved with the Avengers, we'll never know. Except that it means that this toy company in China has stolen from 2 different American franchises. Stolen from both the Marvel Comics and Detective Comics, DC Comics. That's like stealing from Coke and Pepsi at the same time. Way to go, China. On the back, they've done all kinds of due diligence. Choking hazard! This illegal toy may choke your child. The rest of it in languages I don't really speak. Obviously still illustrated with Marvel stuff, but here's Captain Marvel herself, which is what? That was 2018, 2019. So that makes it a much newer toy. So obviously that's why it's still in great condition. We're going to open it up. Here we go. Oh, it's got that new toy smell. Oh, he's stuck in his bag. What's he stuck to? Come on out, Superman. Ha! There we go. Superman arrives on Earth. Kal-El. Yeah, all right. Well, this cheap Chinese toy, which weighs almost nothing. You would not want to drop this. It would break in a heartbeat. It is so light and fragile. But it's got, look at that, articulated elbows. That's really rare in a cheap Chinese toy. It's got 7 joints, knees, hips, flex. It's, the cape is fabric, at least. It's not plastic. The face, well, I'm not sure which Superman that's intended to be. I suppose it's the Superman that was in the Marvel Comics universe, which is none. He's not advertised as having lights and sound, but he's got a button in the back What's it do? Oh my goodness. Well, he lights up just like Superman. Oh wait, Superman doesn't light up. He can do the hero landing, the superhero landing. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Yeah, all right. Ka-chung!